All right, let's unpack this. Today we're launching into a deep dive that I think challenges almost every modern idea you might have about success.
Hmm.
We're really trying to move beyond that, frantic, visible, noisy definition of achievement.
The kind that's all about speed and how much attention you can get right now.
Exactly. We want to explore what it means to build something that lasts. And our source for this is Usning, Reuben Juma Onunga's framework, Flying with the Eagles.
And the mission here is really just clarity. It's about trying to understand how true high achievers actually operate.
Right.
The book uses the eagle not as a symbol of, say, aggressive pride, but more as a model for efficiency, for discipline.
And responsibility. That part really stood out.
And responsibility, absolutely. We're looking at the principles that allow people to truly lead, not just, perform.
I found the introduction so compelling because it makes this distinction right away. It's like, look, not all birds fly the same way.
Or at the same height.
Or at the same height. And the core difference for these high achievers, according to Onunga, is their altitude of operation.
Precisely. They're not defined by being louder or busier, which is, that's the default for so many of us today.
It really is.
Instead, they are defined by being clearer, more focused. And the calm you see in these people, it isn't a gift. The book describes it as something that is absolutely earned.
Earned through what, exactly?
Through rigid discipline, strategic patience, and just intense restraint.
And what's really underneath all that calm is the core insight of the book. It's this idea that true elevation, it requires an inner renewal before you can have any kind of outward ascent.
Yes, it frames success less like a sprint and more like a disciplined climb. It connects directly to that idea of waiting, of renewal.
From the scripture, those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles.
And that verse, it doesn't just anchor the book. It informs the entire philosophy. Real high-level success, the kind that actually endures, it always aligns with purpose.
And you can't access that without some kind of internal shift first.
You can't. There's a prerequisite mastery of self that has to come before any attempt at mastering something external. It's a challenge to rise steadily, not just, flash and burn out.
That sets the stage perfectly. So let's jump into the first big requirement for operating at that altitude, the cost.
The cost, yeah.
Chapter 1 is all about solitude and standards, and it immediately pushes back on this modern idea that success has to be this big, social, public thing.
The chapter's called Why Eagles Fly Alone, and it's such a vital concept to get. The solitude of the eagle it's not antisocial, it's entirely functional.
Functional how?
Well, crowded air creates turbulence. It disrupts the flight path.
So if you translate that, it means that exceptional thinking, just by its nature, creates distance.
It has to.
Because you're suddenly operating with different standards, different priorities. You even see time and risk differently than everyone else who's just, living in the moment.
And that distance is a necessity, not like a punishment. The source even points out how philosophers have warned for ages that the crowd resists what it can't understand.
Or what messes with its comfortable routines.
Exactly. So independent thinkers, they often get labeled as strange or arrogant just because their standards disrupt those familiar low-ground patterns.
I think the key takeaway here for anyone listening is the historical context. The book brings up figures like Moses, David, Jesus. They all withdrew frequently.
Right, which proves solitude wasn't abandonment. It was intentional preparation.
Rigorous preparation.
Yes. Think about the pressure of constant connectivity today. We're just bombarded. High achievers have to protect their mental space almost fiercely. Solitude is the shield that keeps clarity from drowning in all that noise.
So if solitude is the price for preparation, then standards. Standards are what keep you at that altitude once you're there. Let's talk about that through the lens of rejecting low-ground living, which is from chapter 6.
The analogy is just brilliant. Eagles don't scavenge. Their biology demands freshness. They instinctively avoid the contaminated day-old stuff on the ground.
And in human terms, that means high achievers are defined less by what they chase.
And much more by what they reject, the behaviors, the people, the environments.
But how do we define that low-ground living today? It's not just about morals, is it?
No, it's operational. It's about rejecting low-value meetings, unnecessary drama, procrastination.
Chronic complainers.
Oh, definitely. Or even just accepting sloppy work from yourself or others. These standards protect you from anything that drains focus or erodes discipline.
That really helps make it concrete. It's like standards simplify your choices, especially when your motivation is low.
How so?
Well, you set the standard once, I'm not doing that anymore, and that one decision takes care of 100 future choices. You don't have to debate whether to leave a gossip-fueled conversation. The standard's already set.
It's friction reduction. That's exactly it. When the standards are clear, you don't waste willpower negotiating with yourself all day. You conserve that energy for what really matters.
Here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
So once you have that foundation of solitude and standards, you need the engine, the thing that keeps you airborne.
And it's not just talent.
It's not just talent, it's this trio of discipline, focus, and altitude thinking.
Chapter 3 puts it so bluntly. Talent might get you off the ground, sure, but discipline is the muscle that keeps you in the air.
And the book frames discipline as the highest form of freedom. Now, that sounds backwards.
It does, but think about it. It frees you from being a slave to your moods and motivations.
Which are so unpredictable.
Totally.
Yeah.
If your success depends on feeling like doing the work, you're going to fail most of the time. Discipline is the system that makes your action independent of your feelings. You're free from your own impulses.
And it's not about these grand, heroic gestures. The source says excellence is found in ordinary, sometimes boring routines that are just repeated faithfully.
Waking up when others hit snooze. Preparing when others just wing it.
Right.
And that consistency is what creates an altitude that looks effortless from the ground. People see you gliding, but they didn't see the years of structured early mornings.
An undisciplined life is just chaotic. You're always reacting.
Always.
Yeah.
Now, you have to layer on top of that altitude thinking from Chapter 2. This is the intellectual process.
Okay, define that for us.
It's the ability to see patterns, to see direction, and crucially, to see long-term consequences, instead of just reacting to whatever fire is burning brightest down below.
It's asking those second and third order questions.
Yes, not just can I do this, but where does this decision lead in 3 months? What's the third consequence of this action?
I think this is the hardest part for people because the world rewards speed. If you're not reacting instantly, you feel like you're falling behind.
But speed without perspective just creates rework and regret. Altitude thinking requires a kind of emotional detachment.
Stepping back emotionally.
Yes, so you can become accurate. An eagle glides with control. It doesn't flap frantically. If you're emotionally tangled up in every little thing, your vision gets distorted.
And that clarity leads you right to focus, which is Chapter 5. High achievers don't succeed by doing 20 things at once.
They hunt one target at a time. Divided attention just produces diluted results. It's that simple. You can't achieve uncommon effectiveness with scattered effort.
Which means, in practical terms, you need aggressive boundaries.
Absolutely.
Protecting your time, your attention, and being totally okay with saying no to things that might even be good opportunities, but they aren't the essential one.
Every yes to a distraction is a no to your main goal. It's the cost of entry for mastery.
Okay, let's pivot. Let's talk about external pressure. Because flying high means you're visible, and visibility guarantees resistance. How do we turn setbacks into lift?
This is where the eagle analogy is just so powerful. Storms are training grounds.
I love that.
Eagles don't panic when a storm comes. They actually position themselves to use the wind for lift. What pushes other birds down, it literally lifts the eagle higher.
So the high achiever sees resistance differently. It's not, why is this happening to me?
No, it's, what is this developing in me? Adversity isn't a curse. It's a refining fire that forges perseverance. The point isn't to avoid storms. It's to master transforming them.
And in your professional life, getting through a big storm, a crisis, a failure, it builds credentials that a comfortable career just can't give you, right?
It gives you credibility. And storms clarify what's important. When the pressure's on, all the superficial stuff just falls away.
And with that altitude comes criticism. That's Chapter 8. The book says criticism is often just proof that you're no longer flying low.
You're just visible enough to attract attention.
But dealing with that, especially today with all the digital noise, it's exhausting. How do you conserve energy?
You have to be ruthlessly selective about feedback. You listen to wisdom, not to volume.
Distinguishing between constructive critique
Which is rare and valuable.
and destructive chatter.
Which is just noise designed to pull you back down. Engaging every critic is a guaranteed way to just get exhausted and lose altitude.
That is a critical distinction. Okay, now we have to talk about sustainability. Success that burns out fast isn't real success. It's a firework. How do they maintain altitude for decades?
This brings us to timing and patience, Chapter 7. And patience here is not passive waiting. It's redefined as strategic restraint.
Like the eagle waiting for the thermal currents before it expends energy.
Exactly. Rushing a decision or trying to force an outcome is seen as incredibly wasteful. Action at the wrong time creates resistance. Action at the right time multiplies your results with less effort.
And that waiting period isn't empty, it's preparatory.
It is. You use that time to train, to refine your plans, to gather data. So when the opportunity finally arrives, you're ready to commit fully, not just scramble to catch up.
Which ties right into energy management in Chapter 9. So many talented people crash and burn.
And the source says burnout isn't from a lack of ability. It's from a lack of boundaries.
A lack of conservation.
Yes. Success is about how wisely you use energy, not just how much you throw at a problem. Constant availability, emotional overexposure, these things deplete you.
So rest, solitude, renewal. These aren't luxuries you get after the work is done.
They are non-negotiable necessities. You have to schedule recovery as intentionally as you schedule the work itself. Without it, you can't sustain altitude. Longevity, the book argues, is the ultimate mark of mastery.
So true. Anyone can sprint.
But only the discipline can glide for the long haul.
Finally, we get to legacy altitude in Chapter 10. The goal isn't just to fly high by yourself forever. The highest form of achievement is using your altitude to lift others.
Legacy isn't about how high you fly alone.
Mhm.
It's about how many others learn to fly because you were there. It's about building people, building systems, building cultures that outlive you.
But ego gets in the way of that, doesn't it? The temptation is to control what you've built.
It is. But true legacy altitude requires humility. It requires patience with others. You have to focus on developing capacity in the next generation, not demanding control.
You have to actually want them to surpass you.
You do. The fulfillment is in multiplication, not in being the one person with all the answers.
So, what does this all mean for you, the listener? This deep dive really underscores that altitude is about responsibility. It's a daily decision to live above the noise, above impulse, above mediocrity. It's a choice you have to uphold with discipline, with focus, and the courage to be different.
We've seen that the costs, solitude, and high standards, they're just non-negotiable. And that resistance, the storms, and the criticism, you have to deliberately use it for lift. Don't let it pull you down.
And if you look around and find yourself flying alone sometimes, the source reminds you that solitude is often a sign of preparation, not rejection.
That is the ultimate frame shift.
It really is. We covered a lot of ground, but hold on to this one final provocative thought from the source material. The sky was never the limit.
It was simply the starting point for those who are finally willing to rise.